Recording has started. Now let's see what an object is in JavaScript. In JavaScript, an object allows you to be able to store many items. Just, you know, an array, for instance, an array allows you to be able to store many items, Abby.
Yes.
Same way, object allows you to be able to store many items in a container, in a single container. The difference between an array and an object is this. If you have an array, the items in an array are kept in square braces like this. But when you are dealing with an object, the items in objects, they are kept in curly braces. Do you understand the first difference?
Okay.
Yes.
For an array, the items are kept in square braces. For an object, the items are kept in curly braces. So when JavaScript sees these curly braces, it knows that you are creating an object. Same way, when it sees this array, it knows that you are creating an array. Let's move on. Next is this. When you are dealing with an array, items are stored, or items are identified with their positions or with their indexes. So I can say A index 0. That is, tell me the value at index 0. You know, this will give me 7, Abby.
7, yeah.
But when you are keeping items in an object, items are identified with their keys. In fact, when you want to store items in an object, it needs to be stored as key to value pair, key value pair. We are going to look at what that means now. Items are identified with their keys. So let's see how that looks. Let's assume I want to store these three items in this object. Well, if it was to be an array, I would have stored them like this. But this is not an array. Items are stored with their keys. What does that mean? So let me first keep this out. Okay. Now I need to give each of these items, I need to give each of them a key, like a name. I can give each of them a name. I can give the first one a name called first. I can give the second one a name called second, and I can give the third one a name called third. Do you understand?
Yes.
So this, like, I'm saying that let the value of first be 7. Let the value of second be 10. Let the value of third be 34. So you use this colon to assign a value to that key. We use this colon to assign a value to the key. We use this colon to assign a value to this key. So if I want to say 34, I'll say b dot the key third. Do we understand? B dot third.
Yes.
This will give me 34.
34.
If I say dot second, this will give me 10. If I say dot first, this will give me 7. Any question?
Not for now, sir.
Now, you can use any key of your choice. Meaning, this can be Taye, this can be Kenny, and this can be Ido. So if I want to see 10, it will be b dot Kenny. So let's run this on the browser. Let's say alert. So we have 10. So it can be any key name of your choice. Let's proceed. Next is this. When you are dealing with an array, order matters because the items in an array are identified according, or they are identified with their positions. When you are dealing with an array, the order matters. Meaning that if I take this out of this place and I put it here, it's different entirely. It's like it's going to give me different results entirely, because if I want to see 10 now, it needs to be A index 2. So this will give me 10. But the way it was initially, A index 1 would have given me 10. But now A index 2 will give me 10, meaning that the order matters when you are dealing with an array. But whenever you are dealing with an object, the order does not matter. This means this object is still the same. If I cut this tire out of this place and I put it here, it's still the same, because whenever I want to see 7, I will still call it using b.tire. Do we understand?
Yes.
So the order does not matter whenever we are dealing with objects, but when you are dealing with array, order matters. In fact, this array and this array, they are two different things. They are two different things entirely. Meanwhile, this object and
Though that you can.
they're actually the same thing. These two objects are actually the same, whereas these two arrays are seen as different things. Let's move on. Now, this, when you are dealing with object, this is known as the key. Why this is known as the value? This is the key, this is the value, this is the key, and this is the value. Now, when we did array, I said something in that class. I said all objects have two things. What are they?
Method and
description
properties.
And properties.
Properties, correct. Properties and methods. All objects have two things. So let's look at those two things now. What are properties? What are methods? What's the meaning of properties? What's the meaning of method? Let's move on. Now, when you have an object like this, an object is like a container that stores information about a single entity. I come again. An object is like a container that stores information about a single entity. Array does not necessarily store information about a single entity. But when you are dealing with an object, everything inside that object must be about a single entity. Let's assume I'm an object now, and let's see how we're going to go about it. So let's say I have an object called person. So remember, object stores information about a single entity. So I have a name. My name is Taye. I have complexion. The complexion is, let's say, dark. Okay. Then height 1.75 meter. So everything here is still about a single entity. It's about a single person. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So this person has a name. The name of that person is Taye. This person has a complexion. That complexion is dark. This person has height, and that height is 1.74 meter. So when you're dealing with an object, everything inside that object points to a single entity. Now, these things, these properties, these are like characteristics of me. These are like my characteristics. What we have here, they are known as properties. This name Taye, complexion, dark, height 1.74 meter, they are properties. They are like characteristics of this object. They are like variables of this object. Now, next is methods. So what has gone? Let me quickly put on the generator. Yes. Give me some seconds.
Hello? Hello?
Hola, Wombo.
Okay, okay.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, let's move on. So, we created this object, and we said this object has three properties: name, complexion, height. Next is we want to look at methods. Methods are what that object can do, or what you can do on that object. I come again. Methods are what that object can do, or what you can do on that object. Properties are just characteristics. They are not functions. Methods are functions. Let's see how this looks. Let me space this so that it's going to be plainer. Okay, so these are objects. We want to add methods here. So this person can sleep. This person can sleep. So we create a function called sleep. As you can see, you see how easy it is to create this method called sleep. We create this. So you can say, whenever I call on this sleep, you know this like you are creating normal function. Abina.
Yes, sir.
This is like we are creating normal function. So whenever we create this function, what do you want to do? We want it to alert. I am sleeping. So I want you to see properties as variables and to see methods as functions. So when you take a function and I put it inside an object, it becomes a method. So we've created a method called sleep inside this object called person. So to call on the sleep, we will say person dot sleep. Because it is a method, you put parentheses at the front like this. So when you call on this like this, it's going to alert I am sleeping. Charlie tẹ̀síwájú.
Yeah.
Next is, let me remove this array since we are not dealing with arrays. Inside this method, you can have very complex things. It can be a parameterized function. Just you can send arguments to it. Let's say I want to say sleep till so time. So I can create a time here, and I'll say I am sleeping till time. So I can put 9 here. So when you pass this, when you call on this 9 will be sent as the value of time. So it's going to tell you I am sleeping till 9. And it simple.
Yeah.
Next. I want us to now see something very interesting about objects. You see, when you have a global variable, let's say I have a global variable, and that variable is name. And the name is, someone wants to join the meeting. Sister Moji, welcome. So let's say I have a variable.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. So let's say you have a variable called name, and the value of name is, let's say, James. variable name is James. Now, inside this method, we want to use this name. Let's assume we need to use this name inside this method. We want to say James is sleeping, something like that. For now, I will remove this name. I've commented this one out. So we want to use this name inside this method. Let's see. So we can say name is sleeping till 9. Hope you understand. When we call on this now, it's going to run the code here and it's going to allow what is name. Name is James. So it will allow name is sleeping till 9. Since the value of time is 9. Show you what.
Yeah.
So where is the
name
okay.
is this
Sleep time, but there is nowhere in the code that specifies time to be night.
Sir?
Sorry, sir. There is nowhere in the code that specifies a time to be night.
This place parameterized function, sir. When we call on the function and we put any number here, or any value, not even necessarily number, any value here, it's going to be sent as the value of time. Do you remember parameterized functions or something like this? We used to do something like this.
Okay.
So when we call on this 5 will be sent as value of num. Then it will alert 5 times 2, which is 10. If you call on this will alert 7 times 2, which is 14.
Yeah, 14.
Do you remember, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that is what is happening here. This 9 is sent as the value of time.
Okay.
So
he's taking that 9 to be 9 p.m., right?
We didn't specify the whether it is AM or PM.
Okay, till 9. Till 9. I thought you said till night.
Okay. Oh, till 9. Oh, sorry, sir.
Okay. Now that's why I was somehow confused. I thought you said till night.
Okay, sir. So this 9 will be set as the value of time, so that this will now alert James is sleeping till 9. Any question? Can we move forward, sir? Ma.
Sorry, sir. I want to ask a question.
Okay, sir.
I want to see the code again, sir. Now, okay, sir. Now, why, since we can, it's just a question anyway.
Yes, sir.
Now, since we can write James in the same JavaScript, we can write alert James is sleeping till 9.
Yes, sir.
And it will still give us. So why are we not? Why are we not? No, because I don't know if you are getting my point.
Yes.
Since I know it's like we are just complicating matters. We are just making it more difficult for ourselves. Since I can alert in the same JavaScript, I can alert James is sleeping till 9, and it will alert. So why am I going through this process of
Okay. Alright, sir. Thank you, sir.
I don't know if you are getting me, sir.
Yes, I get your question. Sir. I get your question. Now, the reason is this. What we want to do, if at the beginning of the class we said something, that the reason we are creating an object, or whenever we have an object, everything about that object will be in this curly braces. Everything about this object will be inside these curly braces. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to structure our code in such a way that we are grouping related things together. It makes it neater, it makes it better, and also as time goes on, we will see more uses of this. We are going to see more reason why we do things this way. But the idea is that we want to group everything about a single entity. Let's say I have a chair. Everything about that chair will be inside the object chair. So that I know that once I'm dealing with chair, I go to that object. Then I have another object called table. Everything about that table, maybe the number of legs of the table, maybe the height of the table, maybe anything, everything about that table will be inside the object table. So I know that everything about that table have been grouped together. So tomorrow, if I want to deal with that table, all I need to do is just to go straight to that object. I don't need to start looking through my code to see where to adjust this and all of that. All I need to do is to search for that object and go and adjust it inside that object. So if I have box, I know that if I have box around table, I know all I need to do is to go and adjust the table object. If I have box around chair, then all I need to do is to go and adjust the chair object. Shall I understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So back to what we were saying, we have this person has a name, this person has a complexion, this person has a height, and this person has a method called sleep, meaning this person can sleep. So, and when we call on this, we alert this. Let's move on. Let's remove this name out of this place and bring it in and say variable name equals to Mojisola. So when we call on sleep like this, 9 will be sent as a value of time, variable name will be created, and this will alert Mojisola is sleeping till 9. So we've been able to do something with this. Now we know that whether the variable is a global variable here or it's a local variable here, the method still has access to it. Show you what.
Yes, sir. But instead of saying variable name, what if we say name, just like we have complexion, that height,
Okay.
1.74 meter. If we put name colon Mojisola,
Okay.
will it not work?
Okay, that's the next thing we want to look at now. Now this this property and this two complexion and height, they belong to person, but this name belongs to this method. Do you understand? This name is a local variable to this method. It doesn't directly belong to person, although the method itself belongs to person. But this name, let's assume we have another method here called it. And when I call on this, maybe we want to say I am eating pounded yam. So we have this eat. So instead of saying I am eating pounded yam, I want to say maybe Mojisola is eating pounded yam. Let's see how that works. Because this is a local variable, I won't be able to use it inside this place. Shall I understand?
Definitely.
It just it belongs to this sleep. So you can't use it here. Check out this, Waju. So next is, let's now use this one. We've established something. If it's a global variable, your method can see it. It can use it. If it's a local variable, your method can use it. But now we have it here. Name is this. Let's see what happens. Let me remove this it for now. Name is this. Let's see what happens. Do I have a global variable called James? Let's save it again. I want it. Where is James in my code? to do? It has cached it. Aha. Okay. We just have is sleeping till 9. What's going on?
9.
Somehow it's unable to make use of this variable. Are we getting it?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
It's unable to make use of this variable. When you have a method like this, the method cannot use its own properties. That's what I want to point out. These three, they belong to this person. This method itself also belongs to this person. But this method cannot use these properties directly. A method can only see global variable and local variables. It cannot see the properties. Ó dàbí àtùpà ni wọ́n ní kò lè rí ìdí ara ẹ̀. Ó lè rí ta, but so tó ṣe bí òwe o ẹ̀yà àgbà. Náà ó lè rí ìta ṣùgbọ́n kò lè rí ti àwọn tó jọ belong to the same object. Ṣé yẹn yé wa?
Ready, sir.
Check out
So
this
if
Yes.
that is the
Yeah.
case, if that is the case, sir,
one. Yes, sir.
then how then do we make use of the properties like completion dark, height 1.74 meter? How do we call on them?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the question. Now, remember that we've established something that is can make use of global variables. And we know that person here is a
Yes.
global variable. So, we can now say person dot name.
Name.
Do we
Okay.
get it?
Okay. So person dot name will automatically that means it will take Taye.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Then if you want to use completion, it will be person dot completion.
Yes, sir.
Person dot height. Okay.
So let's run this now. Taye is sleeping till 9.
Okay.
Then we are not yet done. Instead of saying person, since this object and this name, since this method and this name,
Yeah.
since they belong to the same object called person, instead of saying person, we can now change it to something called this. Let's discuss what this means before we move forward. This word THIS, this, it is the most complicated thing in JavaScript. And tonight we are not going to do justice to it tonight. I'll just explain it a bit. As time goes on, we are going to see more uses of this. But for now, let's see what it means, how this works to an extent. It still has many other ways it works. And I will advise you for now, don't try to read on this. It may confuse it more. But for now, for our usage, we're going to see how this works. In one of our subsequent classes, by God's grace, if time permits, we'll be able to sit down with this word THIS and look at it. I don't think it's even one of the most confusing. It is the most confusing thing in JavaScript. Sorry. I think, in my opinion, it is the most confusing thing in JavaScript. So let's look at the meaning of this. Let's assume I'm inside a house. Let's say I have a house and I have a car. If I am inside that house and I say these chairs are dirty, I come again. I have a house, I have a car. I am inside the house now and I say these chairs are dirty. Which chairs am I referring to?
The chairs in the house.
In the house, good. If I am inside the car and I say these chairs are dirty, I'm referring to the chairs in the car. Abi?
Yes.
Right. That's the same way
Yes.
this works. If I am inside the method of an object, this is the method. If I call on this inside that method, this refers to the object that owns that method. When we are inside the method of an object and we call on this refers to the object that owns that method. What that means is if I come here and I say console log this refers to the object that owns this method, and that object is person. So this is the same thing as saying console log person. So I understand.
Yes.
Okay. Whenever we are inside the method of an object and we call on this inside that method, this refers to the object that owns that method. So if I say console log this refers to person. Let's run it and see the result on the browser. So this is it. So I can now say this dot name. This is like saying person dot name.
Yeah. So that this,
Yes, sir.
like I saw in that console, that means that this is talking about all the properties in that. How would I put it now? In the parentheses, how would I put it? The name,
object,
the composition, the
person.
height, is talking to all of them.
This refers
Or is
to
referring to all of them.
okay. This refers to the object itself, and of course, once you pick the object, then we are getting everything inside that object. Do you get it, sir?
Yes, definitely, sir.
Yes, yes, it's correct.
So we are taking advantage of this now, and we are writing this code. This dot name is sleeping till 9. So this is like saying Taye is sleeping till 9. Let's move forward. So let's say I have another method. And this method is display scroll. And we have upcoming. Give me some seconds. I want to quickly look through this. Okay. So let's get another two methods. We have to get two new methods.
Sorry, sir. What's the difference between this between method and the function? Because like this method is like it's as if we are also writing function.
They actually functions. What we are just doing is by putting it inside this place. When we put a function inside an object, it becomes a method. They are just functions. But all we are saying is this object owns it. It belongs to this person. This person is the one that can do all of this.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So let's say we have scroll like this, and we'll say this the scroll is, let's say, LaTeX. And here we have a lot. My scroll is so for now I'll just remove this sleep so that we'll be able to see everything at a time. Like I want to be able to see this. If I run this code, what are we going to see?
My school is LaTeX.
No, I want us to look at something. We are yet to call on any method, so it's not going to do anything. Shall I get there?
Yeah.
Just like a function. If we create a function without calling on that function, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Same way, if you create this and we didn't call on any of these, then nothing will happen. Shall I understand?
Yes.
Yes.
So we can now say person dot display scroll. So what will this give us?
Element.
My school is Lautech.
Everybody.
The school is Lautech.
My school is locked.
No.
My school is Lautech, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's see. Let's run it and see if we are right. Pum, 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 pum. What's going on? My school is undefined. I said something just now.
So, yes. Sorry. It should be person dot this dot school. No. Your code
No, I think inside the bracket there should be
Yeah?
this dot school there, right?
Yeah?
There should be Lautech inside the display school bracket.
What is going on here is that what is going on here
let
is that
me also respond.
we are not calling on this function. This function is the one setting the school. So because when you don't call on a function, it's not going to read the codes inside that function. Do we understand?
Okay.
Let's assume
yes.
we did this. Let's assume we first did person dot set school. Before calling on person dot display school, then this will work fine. This person dot set school, before set school as Lautech, what it's going to do is it will come to this place and create school and set it as Lautech, so that this person dot display school will be able to make use of it. Shall I understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is what person dot set school should do for us. But because we are not calling on person dot set school, we are not calling on this, and school is not part of the properties here. School is not here. Abi now. Shall I understand?
Yes.
Let's assume school is here. It would have worked fine. This will work fine because school is already here. So when we call the person that display school, it will display my school is Lautech. But because that's not like that, it's not like this. This school is not here. So when you say person does this dot school, it's going to come here and look for a property called school. And since there's no property called school, that's why we have the undefined. So to solve that problem, we can first call on person dot set school. So this will help us to set the value of school to Lautech. And look at something, we are setting it on this. By setting it on this, we are saying that go to your parent, which is person, create a property inside this called school. So to come here and quickly create a property called school, then set the value of that property to Lautech.
Yes, the explanation is clear.
Shall I understand?
Benny, sir.
So what? Sorry, sir. I want to be. Let me let me ask this question. What you are saying now is that when we call on this function, person dot set school, sir.
Yes, sir.
This will be created, but we won't be able to see it, right?
Yes, it's not going to display it on this. It's not going to add it to our own code, but it will quickly add it
But
here.
it will be created, but it will not be
Yes.
visible to us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. To verify this, we can do something. Let's remove this display school for now and say console log person. So person does say school. They will now say console log person. Can we see upcoming? Can we see school inside it as Lautech?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
because this set school,
Okay.
by calling on set school, it has quickly created a property
Yeah.
there called school. If we
Yeah.
remove this set school and we just say console log person, you won't see school again. That's a fresh. Okay. Check it out. School is no longer there.
Yeah.
So that now allows us to be able to come here and say person.display school. So this can now make use of this dot school. So my school is Lautech. Do we find objects interesting?
Yes,
Yes,
it is.
yes.
Okay. Let's move on. Next is, we want to look at something called dot notation and square bracket notation. We are going to look at the difference between the two. Dot notation and square braces notation. So we are going to look at some of the differences. Before now, up to this point, we've been using dot notation to deal with objects. What I mean is this. If I say alert person dot height, what are we going to say?
1.74 meter.
Good, thank you, sir. 1.74 meter. This dot is the dot notation we are talking about. This dot between the person and height is the dot notation. So we'll be using dot notation up to this point. And in fact, most of the time you are going to be using the dot notation. But why do I want to introduce something new to us now? Is because there are some things, or there's one particular thing that you can't do with dot notation. This dot notation will not allow you to be able to do it, and sometimes you want to do it. In fact, the reason you want to do it is not even because of now. For most of those things you are going to do at this stage, dot notation is fine. It's good to do most of those things. But for the next stage we are going to get to, when we get to React, most likely you may have to use the square braces notation. So it's good you know how it works before we get there. So let's see what that means. You see, in most programming languages, this key should be a string. In most programming languages, the key should be a string, the key of an object. This key, not the method, so no, not for the method, but for the properties. These keys should be strings. What do I mean? Instead of saying name, I put it in quotes. It becomes this. Instead of saying this, I put it in quotes. It becomes this. Instead of saying this, I put it in quotes. It becomes, shall I understand?
Yes.
But JavaScript is lenient. That is why in JavaScript we can do something like this. We can say variable a equals to 6, and I won't even terminate it, and I go to the next line and it will still work fine. But this will be terminated. Normally, we have to put semicolon here. But JavaScript is so lenient, so lovely, that we don't even need to strictly obey these rules. But like I said, in most programming languages, we ought to put quotes around display. But JavaScript makes it possible for us to choose to either put quotes around the key names or not. We can choose to put keys around it, put string around the key names or not. We can choose to. So in this case, we are putting it. It will still work exactly like before. It will still work like before. Like when you share exactly like before. It will still work like before, but just that in most programming languages you need to. How does this now affect our codes? There are two ways you can access these keys. You can either use a dot like this, or use a square braces like this. Just as though you are using an array. Shall I understand? Show you what.
Yes.
So we can either use a dot or square braces, but the difference is this: whenever you are using square braces, it expects that whatever is inside this code, inside the square braces, must be a string. I can make it. Whenever we are using square braces, it expects that whatever you put inside this place must be a string. So I have to put this in quotes now.
Okay.
But if I'm using a dot, it must not be a string. I mean compulsorily. It must not be a string. Meaning if I say person dot height, this will throw back an error. It must not be a string.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
But whenever we are using the square braces notation, compulsorily it must be a string.
String.
So
Okay.
this is the same as saying person dot height. So you can use anyone. But the reason we are going to be using dot notation for most of those things is because it is shorter and it looks cleaner. Because by saying person dot height, this looks cleaner. So you're going to be using this dot notation, but we are not yet done with this square braces notation. Now, before we go to what we can do with square braces, but we cannot do with dots, let's first look at what we can do with dots, but we can't do with square braces. You can't use the square braces notation to call on methods. Whenever you want to call on method, it must be dot notation. So we have to use dots. Shall I understand?
Yes.
Whenever I want to call on methods, it must be dot notation. So seeing we've looked at what we can do with dots, but we cannot do with square braces. Let's now look at the opposite. What you can do with the square braces, but you can't do with dots. That's the next thing I want to look at. Now, your key name, you can, your key name, if you are using square braces, you can say name of students. It can have spaces in between. What does this mean? Name of student like this. This is a key. Note, if you are not using quotes, if this is not a string, error. I come again. This, remember, a variable name cannot have spaces in between.
Yes.
A variable name cannot have spaces in between. In worst case, it can have underscore. This is fine. But if you want it to have spaces in between now, you put it in quotes. This only works for key of object. It doesn't work for normal variable name. Meaning I can't come here and say a variable name of student equals to but this can work for keys. If you have spaces in your key name, then put it in quotes. So about in the quote space in back error. Is it confusing?
No, not confusing. It's clear.
No, sir.
Okay, alright, thank you, sir. So whenever you want to put spaces, you put it in quotes like this. And once you add spaces, you can't access it with dot notation. Let's say person dot name of student. Remember, dot notation must not be in quotes. Abina.
Yes.
So I have to remove the quotes. Then back error. Because it's like say person dot name hourly spacey back error. So you can't use the dot notation to access key names that contain spaces like this. You can't.
Okay.
To access that,
So we have to use the other one.
yes, sir, it needs to be the square braces notation. Since this
Square
one was
braces.
being cut like this, oh, this will work. So we can say alert. So let's comment out these ones. That's the first one. But this is not so important, or it's not as important as the next thing we want to look at now. The reason why this is not so important is because I don't advise you to put spaces in your key names. It's not a good practice. As much as possible, avoid it. Because most developers, or most JavaScript developers, naturally we use dot notation, most people. So, and most people don't, like most times, we don't put spaces between key names. So when you put spaces in yours, it's going to be a bit difficult to blend. Like we need to now start conditioning ourselves to adjust to your codes. Shall you understand?
Yes, sir.
Especially if you are collaborating with other developers. So when you watch them blend, like they will now start questioning themselves. So yeah, use square braces notation. Use square braces notation. So please, as much as possible, don't put spaces in your key names. But I'm just saying that in case, then this is how you go about it. And sometimes you may not also be able to avoid it. You know, we are learning front end now. So sometimes you are getting some information from the back end. And let's say the back end was built with a programming language like, let's say, PHP. Things like these are common in such language. So the back end will send an information to the front end. The information sent to the front end can be in form of an object like this. So you know you need to use the square braces notation since the key names will be like this. Shall I understand? So you need to use the square braces notation. So sometimes you have no choice. If you are working with other developers, if you as a front-end developer and you are receiving an information from the back end and it's like this, then you have no choice than to use the square braces notation. But the next thing we want to look at is very important. Like, is the most, in fact, is the reason why I'm teaching you the square braces notation. If it's just because of this, we may not even touch the square braces notation. I want our attention here, and this is the last thing we're going to check today. We call it dynamic keys. This is very interesting. Dynamic keys. Please, I want your concentration. I want you to look at what you're going to do. Please don't be confused. Dynamic keys. Before we go to dynamic keys, we first check something called dynamic values. This will make it easy for us to understand dynamic keys. Let's first look at dynamic values. So to understand dynamic values, remember an object has key value. This is a key, Abi, and this is the value. Abi now.
Yes.
And this is the value. So we first want to look at dynamic value before we look at dynamic keys. So I will comment out all of this and we're going to create a new object entirely. So let's say I have an input. And it has an ID called my name. So, sorry, give me a second. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So, let's say we have this like this, and we have an input. That input has an ID called my name. Then we have a button. When we click on this button, we're going to call on a function called myFunc. So say click me. Then we have an object. This object has a name, and the value of that name is Taye. But when we click on this button, we want the value of this name. Instead of it to be Taye, it should be whatever we have inside this input. Shall I understand?
Really?
So let's get the function together now. So just say obj, since there's the name of the object, we can even make it a local variable instead of setting as a global one. So initially the value of this is Taye. We can now say obj dot name, let it be my name dot value. Shall I understand the pattern?
Benny.
Yes, sir.
Console log obj. Let's see how it looks like now. We have an object. Initially, what we have inside our object is Taye. The value of name is Taye. Or when we click on this button, we are saying that that name should change from Taye to whatever is inside this place. Then log it to the console. So let's run it together. Let's say we have, let's say we have John. So we can say the value of name is John. Let's change it to something else. Let's say we have it to be Titi. The value of name is now Titi. So this is dynamic value. That is, this value is dynamic. It's not static. If it had been like this, it would have been static, meaning it will always be Taye. But now we are making it dynamic.
Yeah.
So what is now? Sorry, what is now the essence of Taye there?
Now I just want us to realize initially it was Taye. We now change that Taye to something else sometime. Like what you are just doing is we are saying that obj.name should now be my name.value. So we are changing it from Taye to something else.
Okay.
You get it, sir?
Yes.
Of course, we could have even written it like this by saying cut. Put it here. Then remove this. So let the value of name be my name.value. We still have the same results. Let's say this is Taye. Let's say this is so we've looked at dynamic values. We now want to look at dynamic keys. What does that mean? What we want to do is, instead of this being name, because if you notice something, for all of them, we still have, this is always name. Shall I notice?
Yes.
For all of them, this is name. So we want to stop that. We want to make it flexible also. The same way the value is flexible, we want to make the name to also be flexible.
The key.
Sorry, the key to be flexible. So it's not going to be name at all. It's to be whatever we want. So let's get an input to undo that. Input text. You can give it an ID called my key. So instead of this being name, this will now be whatever is inside this place. So we can say my key dot value. Shall get a
Back.
So it's going to be my key dot value, and the value will now be my name dot value. Let's see how that works. What is the pattern at the error? What's going on? First, you can't. The key name cannot be like this. It needs to be a one word. Like instead of saying that something like this, you can't run it. Come again. The key name must just be a word like this. We'll go dot something you
Okay.
Okay.
So let's now use the idea we used the other time. So we can say, we can just put A for start. Then we can now say obj. Should I say dot A now equals to, sorry, let's get a variable to undo that. Variable key, get to stand for key, equals to my key dot value. So we can now say k is this. Do you understand what you're doing?
Yes.
Yes, we get it now.
So variable k is my key dot value. We are now saying k is my name dot value console log obj. Well, no error again, but let's see what happens. The first input is for the key. The second input is for the value, Abi.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's say this is department and this is, let's say, CSC. We have key. The value is working fine, but somehow the key is not working. The key is K. This is because, remember, Patapati VCP no Lumaje key name. I've been now. And this is K. So since this is letter K, then it's just using it like that. One thing I just want to point out, instead of stressing ourselves, this cannot work, except to use the square braces notation. Whenever you want to make the key to be dynamic, you can't achieve it without using the square braces notation. Every method that, in fact, we can try a lot of methods, and I can even try other methods and we'll see. But at the end of the day, it will still not give us the results we want. So in order to be able to make the key to be dynamic, it needs to be square braces notation. Let's see why this one will work. Why using square braces will work, but why using dot notation will not work. Let's look at it together. So what you're going to do is this. We'll come here and say, we can say, is this? Okay. We don't even need to do this. We can, in fact, we can make this an empty object. Then we now say obj my key dot value equals to my name dot value. Let's see what how this is going to work. So let's run it. What happens to CSC? I will explain it better now. Name is John. So let's go to the explanation. Initially, we created an empty object. There's nothing inside this object. We are now saying obj, then we use the square braces notation. Remember I said something, that whatever must be inside the square braces notation must be a string, Abi.
Yes.
Now, House said in one of our previous classes that whenever you are getting anything using .value, .inner text, .inner HTML is a string, Abi.
Yes.
Sorry, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we said this. Let's now assume we typed department inside this place, inside the first page. This line is like saying obj. Remember, whatever you type inside an input is a string. So it's going to come to JavaScript as this. Shall I understand? And the part is in quotes.
Yeah.
So that it can come here and get whatever the user types here. But because we are getting it from an input, it will come here as a string. So this, if the user type department here, JavaScript will now see it as this. Shall you understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to assign values. We don't have problem with dynamic values. The problem we have is dynamic keys. Whenever you want to use dynamic key, you need to use the square braces notation like this. We need to use this. Any question? For most of the task anyway, you may actually use dynamic keys and for most, but it's good to know that in order to make the key dynamic, then compulsorily it must be square braces notation. Check out this, Roger.
Then, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
let's now look at a little problem that we need to solve before we go. Papa, notice Kinecon. Let's go back to our course, and you'll be the one to tell me the solution to this problem. Let's assume I type name here, and I say the name is Taye. Good, Abi. if I come here and I type complexion, I'm saying you should help me to create a new property called complexion, Abby, and the value should be dark. Notice something. Shall we this object O and B, what is your name here then? Do you notice?
Yes.
What did you done? So what you want to help us to do is this. So that we want a situation where if I come here and I type a new property and a new value, it's not, instead of throwing it away, we'll be able to see all of them together with the previous ones. That's the last thing you help me to do. We want to get the initial values to one.
Share me question lọ́wọ́ wa ni.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni sir.
Then what your question?
Ipò ilé tí ó fi ń parẹ́ tẹ́pá notice ó àṣehádìí ni wọ́n ti jọ sí tẹ́lẹ̀ dànù last one lè kan là ń rí. So I want to solve this problem. How do you think we will solve it?
Concatenation?
Okay, if it's concatenation, where should we concatenate? Where should we put it? How should we go about it? Maybe here, let's put it here. So what we are doing here is we are saying get whatever might be inside it, concatenate it and set it back. Shall I understand?
Let's see the output first.
Last. We've done something like this now, have we?
Yes, àwọn iṣẹ́ tá a ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀, yes.
So jẹ́ ká wò yóò máa ṣiṣẹ́ ní.
Check our output.
Mail is by and I define that. Let's add another one. Department.
About me, I want to define something.
Pushing your kuro even with.
So kí la fẹ́ ṣe báyìí o? Kí lè bá lè ṣe?
Sorry, sir, I'm not really getting the question. Let me just be sincere.
This is the question.
Because you said I'm not getting what you said is getting removed, because all the values are showing on the console stuff. So no. I don't know what actually you are asking us to do here.
Okay, this is it, sir. If you had a property name and the style array, if you had another property,
yes,
and it's something, I'm at the button. Click of this button, we will only see an object that contains department and software. The object will no longer contain name and taye again. This is a new one that show. It's just an object that only contains department and software. What about the name and taye to koko one there? Where is it? It should still be within that.
Okay, the question you're asking us now is that on the input you want the two to appear there instead of one.
You get it, sir. So
in the console, now for méjèèjì jáde.
Console will give us the two.
Because I can see the two in the console, yeah. That's why I'm getting confused. So, but you want the two to appear in the
single
in the input.
We want a result that will now look like this. Name is Taye.
And department inside it too.
Okay, and department. Okay.
Shall I understand?
Yes, I understand now.
We want something that will look like this. So that when we have another one again, how to add them.
Yeah. Mm. Can we? I don't know. Can we put? I don't think so. I wanted to say if probably we can put something inside the func bracket,
Okay, what should
a
we
value
put?
or a letter,
Okay, the letter.
as in the func my func in the body, and then my function in the JavaScript.
Okay, what should we put here, sir?
We can put.
Okay, because of our time, let's solve it. If you look at the solution, you'll be like, let's do it together. 1,000. This solves it.
Shit.
So let's look at why this will solve it, and why the initial. If there is a problem, the first thing, what will make that problem will be what will make it easy to debug is when you understand the reason for the problem, then you will find it easier to debug. But when you don't understand the reason for the problem, then it becomes a bit difficult to debug. But let's first look at the reason for the problem. Then we'll now look at why this will solve the problem. Now let's see what happens. When we fill a value inside this input, let's say name. I'll put another value inside this input. Let's say Taye. Then we click on this button. You know it's going to call on this function, Abi.
Yes.
Now we have var obj equals to empty object, meaning it's going to create an object called obj, and it will be an empty object. Then obj, the key will be whatever is inside this place. The value will be whatever is inside this place. Then it's a console log obj. Should be in your Abi.
Yes.
Now, when we now type another one, let's say we now type department here and we type software here, and we click on this button, it's going to read this line again. Remember, this is var. How to create a new obj for us, which is different from the last one.
Yeah.
Shall I get there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So how to set it to empty object again. Now this is a brand new obj.
Yeah.
After I set the value and sync out about type, that's department. Then this one to be software. Then how to console log again.
Override the whole one.
So when we click on this again, it's going to come on this function. Create a brand new obj, a fresh one. Then asset. Shall I understand the reason for the problem now?
Yeah.
So to
Only
solve this
set
problem, you can now cut this out of this place and set it as global variable. So in that case, when the browser loads the first time, that's how you create obj for it's going to create the obj. Then it will create it as an empty object. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Yes, go on.
So when we now enter values inside this two input, let's say I entered name here and here is Taye. I will click on this button. It's going to run the code here. It will now say obj, meaning if you refer to this object, it's not recreating it, it's only making reference to it. So it's going to set the name to Taye and it will log it to the console. So the name inside this now, this obj now contains name Taye. So when you type another input here, let's say department, and this is software, and you click on this button, it's going to call on this function again. You are making reference to the same obj, you are not creating it. Remember, the obj already has name and Taye inside it already. Abi now?
Yes.
Yes.
So this now, we now set, it's going to pick whatever is here, this time around is department, and the value here is software. So to put it inside it and log it to the console. So when you now check this now, you now have an object that has two properties. One is name and the other is department. Do we get it?
Okay.
So
Now,
let's
I was going to
okay.
think that I was going to think that bóyá ó ṣì tún máa wipe ẹ̀, like á ṣì tún refresh ẹ̀. Like what I mean is tá ṣe máa add ẹ̀ mọ́, you know.
Gbèsè nínú rẹ̀ náà ni. Since you are saying obj, the key, pick whatever is inside this place. Then the value should be whatever is inside this place. Alawa create sí nínú ẹ̀. Adegbèsè nínú ilé. Since you are referring to the same variable, it's not recreating. The variable you are created once. You are only adding, you are only setting new key and value inside it, but it's still the same obj.
A lè lo for loop náà ká fi máa iterate ẹ̀, ká máa fi túnṣe.
For loop ò ní ṣe eléyìí fún wa.
No, wípé èyí tá fi máa ṣe máa okay. Nǹkan kan náà la ṣì máa lò lọ.
Yeah. Okay, let's refresh it now. See what happens. But I'm just trying to show us the importance of local and global variable, when to use which.
Yeah. Actually, sometimes èèyàn ní láti ronú kí èèyàn wo lọ wò bọ̀.
Any question, Katola?
Okay.
Now, because we have a pending assignment, I won't give us a new one. I won't. So please work on the assignment at hand. Please work on it. The multiplication table. Work on
Okay,
it.
sir.
Yes. Any question? Okay. In absence of question,
Sir,
yes, sir.
you said you were going to talk about return. You've not talked about it since then.
Oh, yes, that's that. Return keyword. Should we discuss it tonight or in one of our subsequent classes?
If it will not take time, we can just touch it. If
Okay,
it
that's
will not
good.
take time.
Return. Return is very interesting. It's a bit tricky, but it's interesting.
And he said that it has no substitute. When we have to use it, that's the only thing we can use.
Can we start?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, we are ready, sir.
So let's see how return works. When we have a function, like this, and we have halat hello what. You know, when we call on this function, let me call on the function here. When we call on the function here, you know it's going to run the codes here, Abby.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's go to the browser and see. Hello world. Fine. Everything is cool. But instead of calling on the function here, I will call it in the console because of what I want to explain. Instead of calling on the function here, instead of calling on the function here like this, I'll go and call it in the console because of what console will make it will make you understand what I want to explain. So what's the name of the function? The function is my func abina.
Yes.
So just come to the console and call on it there. Enter. Shall I hello world, Abby?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's close it now. See something. Shall we undefined?
Yes.
Yes.
Why are we saying this undefined? That's the next thing we want to explain. The reason we are saying this undefined. In fact, tó bá jẹ́ kí bí náà láti pè, the undefined is there. I will show us now. It's actually there, but it's because of the way we've been writing our code, but it's there. But the console makes it so obvious. We saw undefined. What is the meaning of that undefined? This is whenever you call on a function, what you are telling JavaScript is go and run the code inside that function, right?
Yes.
Yes.
When it is done, whenever JavaScript is done running all the code, tó bá ti parí tán, ó máa jẹ́ àbọ̀ padà lọ síbi tá a ti pè function yẹn. I come again. Whenever you call on a function, JavaScript is going to run all the code inside that function. It's like you are sending JavaScript on an errand.
Okay.
And when it is done, it will definitely give you a feedback. It will definitely return a feedback back to that exact spot where you are calling or where you called on that function. Tó bá ti ṣe tán, ó máa dá àbọ̀, ó máa jẹ́ àbọ̀ padà sí ibi gangan láti pè function yìí. So now you can say that everything you've been doing thus far, kì máa rí àbọ̀. When you call on this function like this, tí JavaScript bá ti alert hello world tán tó parí nǹkan tó fẹ́ ṣe, ó jábọ̀ padà síbi bíbá gangan. The only thing is, before now, we've not been using that response. Show you what?
Yes.
We've not been, in fact, we are not interested in the response, but there's actually a response. Just that we choose, or we've been choosing before now, we just chose not to use the response, but there is a response. So, what we are going to do now is this. We will now say, return in Yoruba stands for Dapada, Abi now.
Yes.
Return 8. What this is going to do is when it is done with everything here, it will now return this 8 back to that exact location where that function is called. I come again. When it is done, tó bá ti ṣe tán, whatever you return will be sent back to that exact spot where that function is called. If there is nothing, it will return undefined. But you can choose to return something. You can return anything of your choice. I can say return 12. Shall I understand?
That's the syntax. Kò ní pé ká fi strings or something.
Sir?
Syntax ẹ̀ ní pé ká kàn kọ straight báyẹn.
Return
Kò ní
anything you want to return.
policy.
You can return Taye, you can return anything.
And what's now the use?
Okay, we're going to look at the use. But before we look at the use, please, I want us to first understand how it works. How it works a bit confusing. When you return anything, this response will be taken back to this place. Let's run it on the browser. Tabalone, need anything. That's because no response here. I come again. On dá padà o, àwa la kò gba response tó ń dá padà. Ṣó ń yé wa la? Táyé tó bá ti parí nǹkan tó fẹ́ ṣe, Táyé ó ń dá padà sí ibi báyìí. But àkọ́ lónìí. Just the same way also, I told us that if there is nothing here, it is actually returning undefined. Abi now. Ó ń dá padà sí ibi báyìí. Just that we are not using that response. Now we are going to now choose to use that response. But so far, we've not been using the response, but there is a response. So let's now make use of the response. We can now say, so what it's going to do is this we call on the function, if you alert hello world. When it's done, the response will now be set as the value of A. Show to you what?
Yes.
So we can now say alert A. What will be the value of A now?
The response.
Or what is the response?
The
Hello
response
world.
is undefined right now.
Undefined. My phone kì í ló pé hello world. When you call on my phone
Okay.
like this, òun ló pé ló ṣe nǹkan tó wà bí ló pé hello world. Gbogbo tó wá ṣe tán, ó dá response kan padà sí ibi bíbá. It will be returned back to that same spot. We are now assigning that response to A. Then when you now say alert A, it will now alert the response which is undefined. Shall I understand?
Yeah.
A call low alert hello world though. My phone can low alert hello world. Meaning that with or without this A, hello world will still be shown on the screen. I've been now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is this my phone low display hello world. But what we are doing is we know that it will bring a response. We are now assigning that response to A. Then we will now say alert A. It will alert the response.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the browser and see the results. Hello world undefined. So it is this alert A or undefined.
Defined.
So let's move forward. We can now say return taye. So when you call on this function, it will alert hello world, fine. It will return taye. Whatever it returns is assigned to A. Then you now say alert A. So this will alert taye. Let's move forward. Next is this. Any code after return is ignored.
Okay.
Once JavaScript sees return, ó máa dá response padà kò dẹ̀ ṣe kankan mọ́ nínú function yẹn nìyẹn. Do we get it?
Yes.
So once it is returned, it's going to return it and terminate that function immediately. It's like break for function. So my
Okay.
response in padà kò dẹ̀ ní ṣe anything mọ́ nínú function yẹn. So when you call on this, it will alert hello world. It will return taye. Then taye will be returned back and it will assign it to A. Then it will alert A. So this will alert taye and that's all. You won't see Tolu on the screen at all. Hello world. Taye. That's all. Then instead of we can shorten this code, this line 17 and 18. We can shorten. Let's shorten it together. What's the meaning of this? What it's going to do is at this point, if you call on this function, it will alert hello world, it will return taye. Taye to bá ti return agbesi nu bíbáyìí so that you can alert it. So this will alert taye. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes.
Trying to reduce our quotes. This my phone will run the quotes here. It will alert hello world. It will return taye. Whatever it returns, add that padà sínú alert sínú big by gangan that spot that will function here. So that this can now alert it. This will now alert taye. So let's now look at the uses of this and how interesting it is. I can say this function, we can make it a parameterized function. We can say age. So here we can say 20 return age times 2. Let's see what happens. When we call on this function, this 20 will be sent as the value of age, Abby.
Yes.
Mhm.
This will now say 20 times 2, 40. It will return it. Add that padà sí bíbá so that this will now alert 40. So instead of alert 40, we can now say I am something like this. So this is going to give us I am 40 years old. Shall I understand that?
Yes. So it means that in your function,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't write any, block of code, any code for it to execute, return now she dey ṣe nǹkan.
Then, tá a bá fẹ́ anything in the function gan rárá, undefined ládàá padà síbi add I am undefined years old because it will definitely return something. All functions must return a response. Bí pa àwọn ránṣẹ́ ni tó bá ti ṣiṣẹ́ tó ń gbọ́dọ̀ dá àbọ̀ padà, àbọ̀ yẹn wá ní return tó ń dá padà síbi. So most of return will really help you when you are doing interview. We are going to do some interviews together, interview session, if time permits us. We are going to job interview. I mean, we are going to just look at some of these things together. From whenever you need to use return, me if you know everything in JavaScript and you don't know this return, and you get to a situation whereby you have to use return, there kò sí nǹkan mi tẹ́lẹ̀ fi replace your non gbọ́dọ̀ lè tẹ́ bá ti mọ̀ àìmọ̀ bẹ̀yẹn mọ̀ náà nìyẹn bẹ̀yẹn. I don't know if you get it. Like if I get to a place tó yẹ kí n ti lo, let's say, okay, if I get to a place whereby I ought to use if else, I can, yes, we can use return instead of if else. Let's look at how that can work. Yes, instead of writing if else, we can use return. Let's look at it together. We can say if h is greater than or equal to 18, return adults, else return kid. So we can now say alert my func 12. What are we going to say?
I don't know. It will be kid. Kid Lamare. Kid. Kid.
Kid. Good. Kid. Let's now see how we can use return to handle this part instead of doing this. So we can remove this totally. Shall we pack or else more?
Yeah.
So what happens is this: when you call on this function, age is 12. Is this condition to no?
No.
So koni will be by akọwa return kid. But let's not say use let's say 30. Age is 30, Abi. Is 30 greater than or equal to 18?
Yes.
It will return adults. And remember, once JavaScript sees return, it's not going to do anything again within that function, Abi.
Yeah.
So akọpada sí bí straight adé alert adults. Kò ní ṣe nǹkan míì mọ́ nínú function yẹn once it sees return. So instead of using else now, you've handled it with return.
But shall I lo ṣó lè ṣiṣẹ́ fún else if?
No. Complex. But for simple if else. If else, you can use return. It's sort of if you don't want to write else, you can just use return to handle that part.
Okay.
For if else. But it's not like a standard okay to end the value if else. I think you might return killing. No. I'm just trying to show us. But if you need to use return somewhere, you can't replace it with any other thing.
Anything.
That's how funny it is. That's why it is a must we touch it. We are going to solve some questions together on LeetCode. It's a website. We're going to look at it together if time permits us. They are actually interview questions. When you go for interview, most likely they will be giving you algorithm questions. And you're going to see that to solve those questions, you need to understand how this return works. For your project, sometimes you will use return, sometimes you may not use it. But for algorithm questions, almost every time, or for most times, you will need to know how to use return. And most interview questions involve return. Most interview questions. Shani Berry.
Right now.
Thank you very much, sir. You have almost spent 2 hours.
Thank you, sir. Have a lovely night, sir.
Ẹ ṣé gan, sir.
Yes, sir.
À ń retí kéèkì birthday o.
Okay, sir.
Ẹ ṣé o fún nǹkan tẹ́ sẹ́ǹtì mi kí n fi ṣe birthday o. Olúwa máa bùkún yín o.
Yeah,